Coming up on tonight's broadcast, the OSU smoking ban, Proposition 8 is overturned and News Corps settles. All that and more right here on KBVR News.
Good evening and welcome to your Wednesday night edition of the Beaver News. We're glad to have you with us. I'm Mackenzie Allen.
And I'm Cassady Gilroy. The plan is already set to make Oregon State University's campus into a smoke-free zone by fall 2012. And along with this, a plan to help students adjust to it is also in the works. According to the university, efforts are being made to educate students on this new policy, as well as smoking cessation programs, which are free to students. Specifically, into OSU students are being focused upon right now, as there are a wide variety of languages, cultural and religious considerations that have to be thought of. Groups such as the Peer Health Advocates and Student Health Services have provided their assistance in making them aware of other programs, such as free nicotine patches and gum, along with counseling sessions to help smokers if they're interested in quitting.
A recent collaboration with MTVU and Oregon State University saw two teams competing on a reality show called Student Bodies, where the winning team earned a trip to MTVU's spring break. James Shreve of the Daily Barometer reports that Caleb Lewis and Brooke Bowman made up the orange team, while the black team consisted of Allie Denny and Quinn McAndrews. Each team had to go through 6 weeks of rigorous physical training with ROTC cadets, which included 5:30 a.m. workouts 3 days a week and nighttime workouts twice a week. Throughout the process, the cameras were on and rolling every 2 weeks to track each team's progress. In the end, it was the black team that won, but both Denny and McAndrews decided to take Lewis and Bowman along as their guests.
Resources available to students expand further as the College of Forestry recently signed into the Open Access Policy, according to Oregon State University. The Open Access Policy is a system where departments such as the College of Earth, Oceanic and Atmospheric Sciences, as well as the OSU libraries, are a part of, enabling researchers to make their published research openly available to the public by uploading them to Scholars Archive at OSU, which is located in the Valley Library. It is a challenge getting accepted into open access, as publishers usually have strict restrictions on allowing free access to their work. OSU Libraries was the first library in the nation to adopt this policy, and OSU was one of the first American universities to sign the Berlin Declaration on Open Access to Knowledge in the Science and Humanities, which is an international accord in support of open access. Faye Chadwell, a librarian in the Donald and Delpha Campbell University, said it's more than just making access open to the public. She said, quote, "It also helps to advance science. It uses the powers of the internet to make more research available to everyone, because that information is not going to be behind a barrier. Sometimes an interlibrary loan can be terrific, but sometimes scientists can't wait 2 days. They need it now."
Regular garden variety red tomatoes are full of health benefits on their own, but scientists at Oregon State University have successfully created an even more powerful purple tomato. Called the indigo rose, this antioxidant-packed fruit contains anthocyanins, a type of flavonoid that has recently grown attention because of the health benefits it has shown in studies. The university is reporting that this is the first true purple tomato to be made available to the public, as others contain a gene that gives them a green-tinted flesh color. According to the USDA, the tomato is the nation's 4th most popular type of fresh market produce, behind tomatoes, lettuce, and onions.
In this month of love, it is important to keep in mind something that may ruin it all: sexual health. Don't worry though, the Koval Science Pub is here to help. Marie Harvey and Jocelyn Warren of the College of Public Health and Human Sciences will be presenting their studies on how sexual health is influenced by relationships and sexual partners, including statistics from around the country. The presentation will be held on February 13th at 6 p.m. at the Old World Deli. It is free and open to the public.
As part of the Visiting Writer series, authors Julie Oringer and Ryan Hatley will be coming to campus next Thursday to give presentations and readings from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. in the Valley Library. Oringer is best known for The Invisible Bridge, a novel and her short story collection, How to Breathe Underwater. Hardy's first book, You Bring Me Your Saddest Arizona, won the John Simmons Award for Short Fiction and was named a San Francisco Chronicle Best Book of the Year. For more information on this and all other Visiting Writers Series events, contact the English department. We are heading into our first short break, but don't go anywhere, because when we return, we have a sports update and a look at news around the nation. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the Beaver News right here on KBVR. Technical problems last night. The associated students at Oregon State University reached with difficulty the passing of SB 7104, reports Evan Anderson of the Daily Barometer. SB 7104 is a bill that, quote, codifies the already in place practice of executive branch members holding office hours and adds those duties to the President pro tempore of the Senate, end quote. Senator Diabart was also present in the meeting, and he brought attention to the lack of attendance by senators at key meetings. Additionally, in the meeting, Vice President Soko Earth brought focus to his proposed resolution to encourage voter registration and the education of OSU students, highlighting the potential voting power of more than 20,000 United students. ASOSU meets every Tuesday night in the Memorial Union to discuss the state of Oregon State's student body.
CNN is reporting that the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission is expected to approve licenses to build 2 new nuclear reactors tomorrow, the first approvals in over 30 years. Both reactors will be built in Georgia at the Vogtle Nuclear Power Plant Complex, about 170 miles east of Atlanta. The 2 new reactors are expected to cost $14 billion and provide 2,200 megawatts of power, enough to power 1 million homes, according to the spokesman for Southern Company, the company in charge of construction. There are currently 104 operating nuclear reactors at 64 plants across the country that provide the nation with roughly 20% of its power. Half are over 30 years old. The first reactor is expected to come online in 2016 and the second one a year later in 2017.
A joyous time for same-sex couples occurred yesterday as the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ruled against California's voter-approved ban on same-sex marriage. As reported by CNN, a 3-judge panel found the proposed ban, known as Proposition 8, to, quote, work a meaningful harm to gays and lesbians by denying their right to civil marriage in violation of the 14th Amendment, end quote. Currently, only 6 states grant same-sex marriage licenses: New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Iowa, Vermont, and New Hampshire. And only 5 additional states recognize civil unions, providing state-level spousal rights to same-sex couples. The future of this ban is still shaky, though as a stay, halting same-sex marriages remain in place as the appeals continue, and supporters of Proposition 8, which passed in 2008 with a 52% majority, say they are willing to take this issue to the Supreme Courts.
After learning about a serious hazing incident, the University of Florida has temporarily suspended its chapter of the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. Though no students were hospitalized and the incident occurred off campus, University President Bernie Mackenzie, in an email to students, said, quote, hazing is specifically prohibited by UF regulations, and it is also classified as a crime in Florida. We cannot tolerate hazing on our campus or in our community, and anyone found responsible will face the gravest possible consequences, including expulsion and criminal penalties, end quote. This comes just a month after a hazing incident at Florida A&M University resulted in the death of a student and the arrests of 4 others. Hazing at FAMU also caused Florida Governor Rick Scott to order that all state universities reevaluate their hazing and harassment policies. We now go to weather with Cassady.
Good evening, Covals. I'm Cassady Gilroy, and tonight I have your 5-day weather outlook. Tonight, expect to see some cloudy skies with a low of 43 degrees. And on Thursday, we shall get a brief break from the rain with some sunshine, but expect a high of 66 and a low of 45 degrees at night. Friday, we are back to more rain with a high of 54 and a low of 36. Saturday, we have some more sunshine for you with a high of 54 degrees and a low of 37 at night. And finally, we are back to rain on Sunday with a high of 45 and a low of 30 degrees at night. That's a 5-day outlook. Back to you guys in the studio.
An American woman running for office in Arizona is gaining national attention after it was ruled that she is not proficient enough in English for her name to appear on the ballot for San Luis, Arizona City Council. CNN reports that last month, Yuma County Superior Court Judge John Nelson ruled that Alejandra Cabrera's name should be taken off the ballot after testimony from linguistics experts and Cabrera herself. A U.S. citizen born in Yuma, Arizona, Cabrera moved to Mexico and then returned to Yuma for the last 3 years of school, graduating from Cofa High School. While on the stand, Cabrera was able to say her name and age, but was unable to tell her attorney where she went to high school in English. Most of this legal battle stems from a 2006 law that states that, quote, the ability to read, write, speak, and understand the English language sufficiently well to conduct the duties of the office without aid of an interpreter shall be a necessary qualification for all state officers and members of the state legislature, end quote. While Cabrera's attorneys argue that there is no standard for a specific level of proficiency for a city council candidate, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, 87% of San Luis residents speak a language other than English in their homes, and 98.7% are of Hispanic origin.
2 CVS pharmacies in Central Florida had their store services suspended over the weekend, reports CNN. The suspension followed a raid by agents from the Drug Enforcement Administration, who reported that the 2 stores were, quote, filling prescriptions far in excess of legitimate needs of its customers, end quote. In 1 year, the DEA reported, the 2 pharmacies ordered more than 3 million oxycodone units from a pharmaceutical wholesaler. A typical pharmacy only orders around 69,000. The wholesale distributor, Cardinal Health of Lakeland, had their controlled substance license suspended as well, though after an appeal for an emergency injunction, services were restored. Investigations are still underway, and for now the 2 pharmacies remain open, filling regular prescriptions, but they are not allowed to fill prescriptions for controlled substances, such as narcotics like OxyContin. It is now time for a final break of the evening, but when we return, we will have a look at more of your national and international stories in just a minute. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the Beaver News live on Channel 26. The bright green McDonald's Shamrock Shake that has been available in select restaurants since 1970 will now be available nationwide, reports CNN. McDonald's made this move in response to the cult-like following their shake has had across the country. But if a lime green shake seems a little tame for you, why not try Jack in the Box's new Bacon Shake? Yes, you heard that right, a bacon milkshake. The drink is flavored with syrup and contains no actual meat product, so it can be enjoyed by both carnivores and vegetarians alike. Just make sure you check out the nutritional content before you order. The Shamrock Shake contains 680 calories, and the Bacon Shake an astounding 773.
The past returns to us as authorities recently arrested Barry Landau, a thief of historical documents, reports CNN. Landau, who claims to be a self-styled presidential historian, pleaded guilty Tuesday to charges of conspiracy and thefts of historical documents from museums in Maryland, New York, Pennsylvania, and Connecticut. A search of his apartment in New York recovered over 10,000 documents, 4,000 of which held signatures from various presidents, including George Washington, John Adams, and Abraham Lincoln. Landau claims to have dined at the White House too, and even met former presidents, though authorities have yet to confirm that. Landau and his assistant, who also aided in the thefts, have yet to be sentenced.
In what may be seen as good news for Seattle-based aviation giant Boeing, its French rival Airbus is being forced to release all A380 airplanes to the European Aviation Safety Agency for safety inspections. The safety concerns stem from possible cracks to the aircraft wings. According to the Airbus website, there are 68 A380 planes in operation being flown by Air France, China Southern, Emirates, Korean Air, Lufthansa, Qantas, and Singapore Airlines. CNN reports that this expands on an original security check that required that only the oldest 20 A380 planes be inspected. Dominique Fuda, a spokesman for the aviation agency, stresses that this new batch of inspections is a typical follow-up and not because new cracks have been found.
Former Maldivian President Mohamed Nasheed was beaten down early today by the country's own police force, reports CNN. This is the day after he stepped down from his office. Nasheed resigned Tuesday as increasing unrest was seen by police officers who were ready to stage a coup, and Nasheed no longer felt he was able to maintain security and peace in the country. Demonstrations were also present, to which police forces sprayed tear gas and beat protesters down with batons. Additionally, 4 members of parliament were abducted, and the head of the Maldivian Democratic Party was hospitalized in critical condition. Vice President Mohamed Wahid Hassan was sworn in early today.
News of the World, the now out-of-commission British tabloid owned by News Corp and Rupert Murdoch, has been forced to pay up in order to settle lawsuits stemming from phone hacking of celebrities and politicians. The tabloid's parent company, News International, released a statement today saying that they, quote, made no admission as part of these statements that directors or senior employees knew about the wrongdoing of NGN or sought to conceal it. However, for the purpose of reaching these settlements only, NGN agreed that the damages to be paid to claimants should be assessed as if this were the case, end quote. CNN reports that the total damages paid were not released, and there is still one individual who was unwilling to settle and instead wants to take the matter to a trial.
Amidst the growing civil unrest in Syria, an armed resistance group known as the Free Syrian Army looks to violently fight back, reports CNN. Syria has been in a state of uprising since last year as a consequence of severe discourse with current President Bashar al-Assad's regime. The Free Syrian Army, formed over the summer by military defectors, joins the opposition to help bring down al-Assad. Over 180 clashes by the FSA and government forces have been reported between November and late January. These occurred in over 6 of the country's 14 provinces. They claim to have more than 40,000 soldiers, though estimates place numbers more along a 4,000 to 7,000 range. Jeffrey White, a defense analyst at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy, commented that the FSA has become a thorn in the side of the Syrian military. He said, quote, the FSA is contributing to the strain on regime forces by requiring them to operate almost continuously and engage in frequent combat. This is in addition to the strain created by hundreds of peaceful civilian demonstrations across the country. The uprising in Syria has thus far been ongoing for more than 10 months and has caused the death of over 4,300 people.
The Chinese manufacturer of the Apple iPad, the Amazon Kindle, and Microsoft Xbox, among others, is facing allegations of poor working conditions and threatening their employees, saying that if any speak to the press, it will result in legal action. At Foxconn Technology Group, hundreds of thousands of employees work either the day or night shift and required to sleep at factory facilities, and only senior employees are given benefits or allowed sick days. CNN reports that the human rights groups like Hong Kong-based China Labor Bulletin and Students and Scholars Against Corporate Misbehavior say that Foxconn's stringent military-like culture is one of surveillance, obedience, and not challenging authority. These organizations argue that it is because of these conditions that many workers at another one of their factories committed suicide in 2010. In response to the allegations, Foxconn issued this statement, quote, Foxconn takes our responsibility to our employees very seriously, and we work hard to give our 1.2 million employees in China a safe and positive working environment and compensation and benefits that are competitive with all of our industry peers in that location.
Tensions are rising in U.S.-Egypt relations as Egyptian authorities announce the prosecution of 43 foreigners, including 16 Americans. As reported by CNN, this was in response to investigations by Egyptian officials into civil society organizations, such as the U.S.-based Freedom House and the National Democratic Institute. Among those prosecuted is the son of the U.S. Transportation Secretary, Ray LaHood. Egyptian officials claim that these organizations are to be blamed for the ongoing civil unrest, and that the organizations have been receiving illegal foreign financing and were operating without a proper license. They sent over a formal charging document that's over 100 pages long. It has still to be translated and reviewed. Members of Congress and the Obama administration are urging for aid to be withheld from Egypt. White House spokesman Jay Carney commented, quote, we have underscored how serious a problem these actions are. We have said clearly that these actions could have consequences for our relationship. including regarding our assistance programs. We now go to Mary Johnson for a look at sports.
The Oregon State men's basketball team and the University of Washington are meeting for the 284th time on Thursday night. Against the Cougars, Oregon State is 53-17 at Gill Coliseum. The Beavers are coming off 4 wins in the past 5 games. The game will be aired on the Beaver Sports Radio Network and will be on Sirius 136. The game will not be televised, but it will be streamed live on the Beaver Nation online for a small fee. Around the Pac-12, the Utah State gymnastics team and the women's basketball team will both be having their annual Think Pink events to help promote breast cancer awareness this weekend and raise money for cancer organizations. The gymnastics team will have their Think Pink meet when they host San Jose State on Friday at 7 p.m. All fans wearing pink will have free admission, and the first 500 fans in attendance will receive a pink and blue pom-pom. All funds collected and donated will be to the American Cancer Society. The women's basketball team will have their Think Pink game when they take on New Mexico State on Saturday. Fans wearing pink will also get free admission, and the first 500 in attendance will get a free pink t-shirt. Tip-off is at 4 p.m., and proceeds are going to the K-Wow Center Fund. The basketball game will be the second half of a doubleheader with the Utah State men's team. Now to the NBA, the Portland Trail Blazers are playing the Houston Rockets tonight. The Blazers are coming off a loss to Oklahoma City, 111-107. Portland in the lead by 2 in the final seconds, but LaMarcus Aldridge was called for goaltending as Kevin Durant was driving to the basket. Portland has been doing well at home with a record of 11-2. Tonight should be a good matchup. Both Rockets and the Blazers have a record of 14-11. It is uncertain if Marcus Camby will be playing tonight because of missing yesterday's practice because of bronchitis. And that's a look at your Beaver sports. Thank you very much.
That's been your Beaver News Update for the evening, but be sure to tune in tomorrow at 7 p.m. for a further look at your local, national, and international news right here on KBVR.